Thomas Stonewall Jackson. His nickname of Stonewall is so famous that you literally cannot mention him without his iconic nickname. But did you know he has 3 other lesser-known nicknames, one of which was even more popular during his life? One of his earliest nicknames is actually Tom Fool, a nickname that actually doesn't sound that great. So how did this legendary general get it? Well, it was actually before the Civil War, and while he was teaching at the Virginia Military Institute. You see, Jackson was seen as an incredibly boring, rigid, and strict teacher by a lot of his students. He reportedly would memorize his lectures and simply repeat them in a monotone voice, and when students would ask questions, he was known to simply repeat his lectures over again. One of his former cadets, Major Rumbaugh, is quoted as, "silent, strict, precise." His very attitude in the classroom was a lesson and a curb to the cadet student. Whether in the classroom or during the drill and battery, frivolity was never a countenance or for a moment tolerated. Standing upon the elevated platform of his classroom, firmly erect and in the exact position of a soldier, his voice was firm, quick in questioning or demonstration. He was quick to detect ignorance of the subject in question, and equally quick to recognize and reward a thorough demonstration. But another reason for this nickname was his odd habits. Jackson apparently believed that one side of his body was heavier than the other, so he would raise his heavier arm up to improve his circulation. Jackson also was a fan of lemons and was often seen sucking on them. Ultimately, his teaching style and habits led to some students calling him Tom Fool. However, some doubt if students ever actually did call him that. Another nickname of his was Old Jack, a nickname that was actually more popular among his soldiers than even Stonewall. The nickname seems to originate when he was enrolled at West Point as a cadet. Since he was a little bit older than the average age of most of his peers, he was sometimes called Old Jack. During the American Civil War, his soldiers, oftentimes younger than him, used the affectionate nickname Old Jack, a name that balanced authority and endearment. His final major nickname was Old Blue Light. This nickname is pretty self-explanatory. Jackson was known for his piercing pale blue eyes. Some say his eyes blazed when he was excited or angry, so his eyes were said to be glowing like blue fire, especially during battle. However, there's also another meaning to this nickname, his Christian faith. Jackson had immense religious zeal, often praying before battles and attributing military successes to divine guidance. So according to some accounts, just like during battle, Jackson's blue eyes were said to blaze or gleam during his passionate spiritual speeches. So there's actually a Christian twist to his name, with the alternative nickname Blue Light Presbyterian. In fact, there is even a poem written about him that mentions his nickname in the verses. The shrewd, dry smile, the speech so pat, so calm, so blunt, so true. The blue light outer his foe knows well. Says he, that's Banks, he don't like shell. Lord save his soul, we'll give him hell. In Stonewall Jackson's way. Silence, ground arms, kneel off, caps off. Old Blue Light's going to pray.